You are now immortal. Alright, I'll put you back in the brooder. It's fine, it's fine.
No!
But that's okay, because that's why you're here. I am gonna help you and show you the way to help keep your chicks alive. I've done it a couple times now, so I am quite convinced that I can help you, even though your chicks won't become immortal. So I can help you and guide you through all the mysterious sources out there, condensed into 2 way shorter videos. Welcome to part 2. You don't have to watch part 1 first before part 2. After this video, just be sure to click on the link. I'll put it in the description, but the end box will also appear for you to click on. So, in part 1, we talk about feed, water, heat. In part 2, we are gonna talk about the brooder to keep those chicks safe from doggos and kiddos and whatever else you got going on. So you need a brooder that is deep enough for them that they're not going to be able to get out and that your dogs aren't able to get in. So this brooder is going to be their house for the next 6 to 8 weeks, depending on the temperature wherever you are living. My chicks are about 2 weeks old now, and they are already hopping and testing out those wings, and to the dog's delight, they love it. But I'm always watching. I pulled out a big cardboard box that stood in the garage that used to have a bathtub in it. So any big kind of container. Cardboard isn't always the best idea in the sense that chicks get rough, they knock over water, or they splash in the water and the cardboard gets soaked. This is where diseases start. Once that cardboard gets nice and soaked and also hot, because you want to keep it warm for your chicks, that's how diseases start, and that's how they spread. With my previous chicks, I actually put big bags, so I cut open big black bags that I put at the bottom. That is a lot of plastic though, and I don't like the use of plastic as much, but I have to say that it didn't make cleaning very easy, because when I had to clean out the brooder, I just rolled it up, rolled all the shavings into it, and just threw it into another big black bag. But once again, that is a lot of plastic. And so this time around I did a little bit of a different approach with repurposing these bags that my adult hen's food comes in. There are also ready-made brooders that are specifically made for your chicks and your ducklings and whatever, but these can turn out quite expensive. You can also just buy a big container, plastic container or whatever from Home Depot, because those are easy to clean. You can, once you clean them all out, you can spray them down, wipe them down entirely. I mean, at the end of raising this batch of chicks, I am gonna throw out the cardboard box. It's going out. Now, this brooder needs to be big enough for the number of chicks that you have. You don't want it to be too crowded. It's gonna get really dirty and stinky really fast. And that is also how diseases spread. So you want to make sure that they have enough space to move around and to scratch around and to be their own free selves. You also don't want it to be too big, because that is a hassle to clean as well, because you are filling the whole thing with pine shavings or whatever flooring you're using. We will get to that in a moment. So now you're gonna have to clean all those shavings out, even though it might not be as dirty in that little corner over there. Still want it to be quite contained. So my bathtub box is big enough to have 2 brooders on one side and then their food and the water on the other side, with a little perch thingamabob for them to kind of play on. And then they also have another corner in the brooder that they can go to. If they become too hot, then they get to move out. Now, there are so many sources that have stated that you need to keep the brooder at 95 degrees once you get them, and then after week 1 you turn it to 93 and then blah blah blah, or whatever it is. I personally did not pay any attention to that, because I felt like, how am I gonna get the temperature to 95 and keep it there, and how am I gonna do that little difference of from 95 to 93? Anyway, the point is that they need a source of heat, which I talk about in part 1, but they also need to be able to get away from that if they wanted to. If they feel like they've had enough heat and they want to get out, then they need to be able to do that too. The best way is to pay attention to their behavior. If they're all huddled together, they're probably cold. I like to just give them the option: here's your heat, here's your non-heat. I also believe that it is important for them to have enough space in terms of the pecking order, so that, you know, the ones at the bottom of the pecking order can get away, can have their own space, that they're not gonna become really, really mean to each other. In my previous flock, one of my chicks died, not because there wasn't enough space. I think there was something wrong with her. Chickens don't like weakness. This is something that is really important. If they feel like there's a member of the flock that is gonna hold them back and attract predators, they're gonna take out that flock member. It is survival of the peckiest little pecker. And I think this wasn't even at 2 weeks old. I think this was even before they were 2 weeks old. They already took out one of the flock mates. And then with another one of my chicks, she got pecked too. She didn't die. And I actually made a video about her, Fluffymodo. I also linked it down below if you want to go check that video out. Just a little fun video introducing Fluffymodo and why her neck was crooked, or is crooked, and the pecking order is the big reason why. Now, let's talk about bedding. I briefly mentioned it earlier. So for bedding, I want to keep it simple and just use pine shavings. You can go a little bit pricier with hemp bedding, but why would you? I just stick to pine shavings. It's easy to get at your Tractor Supply or at your feed store. And now, on the note of, do you want to get the bigger pine shavings or the smaller, finer pine shavings? In my personal experience, I find that the bigger pine shavings are better, because they scratch around a lot and they kick all the shavings into the water. So I clean their water several times a day, and it's so much easier for me to pick out the big shavings versus trying to pick out all these little shavings out of the water. But this is a personal preference of mine. If you have any other experience of why you like the other one more than the other, please do let me know in the comments below. I also feel with pine shavings it is very easy to do spot cleaning. So I take a paper towel and I do some spot cleaning, just picking out some of the droppings around so that they don't need to walk in it and step in it, because it is a way to also help prevent the spreading of disease if there should be any disease in the flock. So let's talk about cleaning the brooder. I do spot cleaning throughout the week, and obviously I clean out their water a couple times a day, and then sometimes their food as well, because they do poop in their food sometimes. But you want to make sure that you clean the brooder, like deep clean, at least once a week. This way, once again, we're preventing diseases, and for your own sanity, you are going to prevent odors. Now let's talk about the actual chicks, the actual contents of why you have all these other things. Now you get the chicks. If you are receiving your chicks through the mail, as soon as you hit order, make sure you are already setting up and getting ready for them. I made the mistake of looking at the tracking and they said, oh, they're only arriving by Thursday. Tuesday, the post office called me and said, hey, your chicks are here. Whoo, buddy, it was a busy week. I was stressing out and I had to jump and get those little fluffsters home so that they wouldn't be on the road for too long. But first, you want to look for a reputable hatchery or breeder that you can get them from. The first time when I got chicks, I didn't want to get them through the mail. I just couldn't even imagine these poor little chicks, 1 day old, traveling across the country. Poor babies. But I have to say, it is very efficient and effective, and they are so good with transporting live poultry. Now, once you rush to the post office and you pick up your chicks, they're going to be chirping away, and it's going to be so exciting because you are bringing your babies home. You want to bring them home as quickly as possible. I did have, when I opened the box, they did place a little heating pad in there, but it was so little that they were all squished up on that side, most of them, obviously not all of them, because there were 13 chicks. So now it is time to introduce your chicks to the brooder. I took them out one by one so that I can inspect and make sure that they're all good and healthy. And then I dip their beaks in water, because this is generally what they say to do. Although I do feel like chicks are extremely intuitive. They are very curious by nature. So they're gonna be exploring and walking around, but it is a good idea to just take them out of the box and do a quick little inspection, make sure they're all good, and then put them into the brooder one by one. Chicks should be active. They should be moving around, scratching around, be very inquisitive, find the food, find the water, and they usually do all of this by themselves. They should have bright eyes and also check their nostrils and their beak, that is just normal and everything looks good. They should also be walking strongly and their toes should not be curled. So those are just general things to do a quick check. Yep, good. Here's some water, in you go. Let's just briefly talk about diseases. The one thing that I have encountered with my previous chicks and also now with these chicks is pasty butt. Pasty butt is very common, and it is when poop builds up on the outside of their vent, and this can cause blockages which can be fatal. It is especially easy to see on yellow chicks. So I only had one chick this time around that had pasty butt, so it was easy to spot because she was yellow. All you have to do is take a little cotton ball, dip it in some lukewarm water, and just very gently remove it that way. It is extremely tempting to want to pull it off, but don't do it because it can hurt them, and the last thing you want to do is put your poor little baby through suffering. So just be very careful when doing this. So in short, just check their little fluffy butts and make sure that it is clean. Like I said, there's only been one chick this time around that has had that issue. So I just regularly, whenever I take them and hold them, I would check their little butts. Something else that can be quite common is coccidiosis. This is something that a lot of people talk about whenever they raise baby chicks. Now the symptoms are bloody diarrhea and losing weight. And it is usually as a result of a dirty brooder. So clean your brooder. Now, if you want to learn a little bit more about vaccines and medicated feed, then you will have to go to part 1 of raising chicks. But long story short, if they have not been vaccinated specifically against coccidiosis and you are not giving them medicated feed, then there is still something that you can give them if you see any symptoms of coccidiosis, and that is cord. So this is then something that if you notice it in the brooder, you have to start administering it and you have to make sure that the whole flock is treated.
Is there anybody with thumbs who can like and subscribe for us? Anybody? Anybody with thumbs? Like and subscribe. Drop a comment if you think we're cute.
Join me soon in part 3 of raising chicks. When the chicks are 3 weeks old, they are going to venture outside for the very first time. So come along for the adventure and learn a little bit more about what it takes to raise chicks.